I'm Alice.
And I'm Greg.
And today we want to try something a little bit different. We're going to be visited by our friends Annie and Marta, who are coming out from LA. We want to talk to them a little bit about their experiences here in Mexico.
As Chicanos, we feel a special connection to Mexico. In fact, part of our decision to move here was a desire to connect with our roots.
But will Annie and Marta feel the same way? Will they connect differently with Mexico because they're Chicanas? Let's chat with them and find out.
Marta Gonzalez is a professor at Scripps College, and she's the lead singer of the Grammy Award-winning band Quetzal. She's also a writer and an artivist, artivista. Her niece, Annie Gonzalez, you may recognize from the Netflix show Gentefied. She's an actor, and she's here visiting Mexico City with her aunt.
I think they're here. Let's make sure the dog doesn't come up because Marta's afraid of dogs. Today we have Annie and Marta Gonzalez here. So can you tell us a little bit about why you're here, what it feels like to be a Chicana in Mexico?
I came to tag along with my tia. She's here on a work trip. And I'm calling it my heritage tour.
Good.
I the whole time, everybody's like, what are you going to Mexico for? I'm like, a heritage tour. I'm 6th generation, born and raised in East Los Angeles, and didn't grow up speaking Spanish. My Spanish is still very broken, but I'm trying out here. I love it here. Like I told you earlier, I've decided I'm going to live here for a month so I can learn more about the culture. And
Yay.
I feel really connected. It's interesting to start going to the museum,
Templo Mayor.
I was like, was so emotional there to see how colonization just completely built a whole new, or tried to build a whole new civilization over one that was already existing. And also identifying with both, right? I'm the colonized and the colonizer, and trying to reconcile with the two.
The Aztecs were imperialists too, right? That's why they got overthrown by very few Spaniards, with the help of other indigenous groups, because they were so...
Well, that's what's so interesting about Coyoacan, because this was like where Cortés first came to build alliances with the people that the Aztecs were not being friendly to.
No way.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, here in Coyoacan, one of the things that they talk about is the origins of pozole, because pozole used to include meat from their captives, and those were the people here in Coyoacan that were adversaries of the Aztecs. So when they were captured, they went into the pot of pozole that the Aztecs ate. Wow. So not super friendly. And then for a long time, Coyoacan.
I love pozole.
Your connection to Mexico, do you think it's different? Your connection to being here and being in Mexico, is it different from like somebody who comes from like Canada or like, you know, Japan for a visit as a tourist? Do you feel it's different for you as Chicanas?
I do. When I'm in, you know, anywhere, just getting here and even beginning to get through and feeling, number one, feeling very connected, but then having to get into the extranjero line, right?
Yeah.
And then once I'm here, I start like really absorbing, like I feel a great sense of pride and knowing that these are roots that, and also sometimes it's a lot of nostalgia knowing that my dad and my parents had to leave because they couldn't make a living here, because they were looking for something different. And then feeling really like proud about it, you know, in my own sense of self. But I also, you know, there are moments where I know that we also, as Chicanos, we have a whole history and trajectory of our own, based on survival and duality and all of these other things, but this part, Mexicano side, is highlighted here more, and I'm deeply just proud of like everything from food, recipes, to like drinks, to like, you know, the way we talk, you know, the way we express ourselves, you know, all of that, you know, so it's really great to explore it.
Everybody I've spoken Spanish to they ask because they know, they could tell clearly I'm not from here, right? Being 6th generation. My Spanish is very wonky, but I'm trying. And I think they see the effort, because I went to go get coffee earlier, and some guy's like, ¿De dónde eres? Like, where are you from? I'm like, oh, de Los Angeles. And he's like, and where did you learn? Where did you learn how to speak Spanish? And I was like, in LA. He's like, it's really good. and like, you know, it's very encouraging For me, being sixth generation from LA, I feel very emotional being here because for so long growing up, I didn't want to identify as being Mexican. I also didn't even understand what it meant to identify as being Chicana. I didn't start learning that until I went to East LA College and was taking Chicano studies classes. I would tell people I was Puerto Rican. Like, that's how much I did not want to be Mexican.
Oh my God.
But let me tell you, it was a lot of self-hate. And then being sixth generation from LA, my grandparents got their ass kicked for speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
You know, we weren't, and my tias were güerita, and there was like, and my mom was too, and she didn't really speak Spanish. And growing up, I went to a lot of private schools and schools in West LA. So have you ever read that book, Anything But a Mexican?
No.
It's a really good book, and it talks about culture and how being Mexican, especially like that part of the Latinidad, there's so much blended in with like you're the help and other, you know, there's and so many other things are with different Latinx cultures. They identify with different things, you know, but that specifically, it wasn't until I learned like Aztecs were the first ones to perform open heart surgery in my Chicano studies, like things like that, and then being here. And
well, it's called sacrifice, but
The survival rate.
hey, semantics, tomato.
but okay, open heart
You know, being here, looking at everything, it's really empowering to identify with this part of me and be like, yeah, I'm a proud Chicana.
You know, I am really proud of, oftentimes, like the other day, we were in the taxi heading to, I think, Templo Mayor, or it was yesterday, I was speaking to the taxi driver, and I'm just going, and he's like, oh, so, and he's like, and finally he's like, you're from here? And I was like, no, I'm from Los Angeles. I said, soy Chicana de Los Angeles, and my padre es de Guadalajara, and he was like, oh yes, you speak very well. He's like, you speak very well, and I'm always proud of that, even though I know that there are things that I'm like, you know, but I feel like I can, I feel very proud of the fact that I have that duality, that I speak English well. And some would say not, but I can get by in Mexico and just like and express myself, and I know poetry, and I know like all of these things, right? So we know songs, we know the culture in a way that even some youth here in Mexico don't appreciate the things that we find hard to be appreciated for in the U.S., you know. So I was really proud to like represent as a Chicana, speaking Spanish, as broken as it might be, in a taxi cab, and just, you know, and getting by, you know, surviving kind of thing, you know. I do see, there are things about Mexican culture, for example, that like I see how indigenous people or indigeneity is treated here. That's very similar that how being Mexican in white neighborhoods there could be, right? Yeah. That kind of thing. I definitely see that. I don't think, so I often feel like they don't see that. Mexicanos here don't see that. They don't see that as the same thing. And we were talking about in the museum. I said, you know, saying somebody, because there's that huge writing in the side of the building of the museum about Mexicanidad and like duality and all this stuff. And I was like, that's kind of a narrative built for the nation state, right? To consolidate people's imaginations during a really turbulent time and after the war and everything. I said it's kind of an idea, because the reality is that Mexico has so many different indigenous groups that have never been considered. And those indigenous groups each have an entire history, a language, a whole gastronomy, culture, dress, like all of that. I said they're all different, and Mexico as a country has never really considered that. Saying Mexicanos implies that it includes everybody,
but it doesn't. Yeah.
But in reality, socially, it doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, and you see it. It's very alive, and you see the disparity.
Yeah. So we're talking about racism, but we're not. But I think here in Mexico, people will tell you that they're not racist, but they're classist. And but I think if you look at like, well, interesting, who's in each class? It's like, who's representing the top classes? What do they look like? Where do they come from? What are their last names? And who's representing the lower classes? Exactly. Who do you see that, you know, is who's selling stuff out on the streets or washing windows, or like, who are those lower classes? They are not the fair-skinned, blue-eyed European last names. Mm-hmm. So So people can call it whatever they want, but I think especially coming from the United States, we can spot it from a mile away.
Yes.
Because we live it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we've seen it, and not just happen to us, right, but to Asian Americans and like, you know, Black Americans.
Definitely.
And,
Yeah.
You know, you see it, you know what it looks like, and yeah. Well, that's the interesting part, right? That there's a lot of similarities, but a lot of differences too. And I can't even, like, just being present here, like, it just, like, there's just so many things. Like, it's just a whole other world, but it's familiar.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
also it's a whole other world, and it's foreign at the same time. You
Yeah.
know, it feels like you have to, you know, like you have to learn a new way. It's just everything. It's especially when you embed yourself, like, and I know you know by living here, right? Because when I come back now after having lived in Veracruz for 9 months back in 2008, it was really great to, like, be and kind of feel like something's familiar, but then, and to come back now is just, it reminds me of having lived here, and, you know, everything from smells to, you know, time perceptions, how time is perceived here.
Yeah.
Very different, you know, amistades, how people greet each other.
Yeah.
Like, people still say buenos dias, buenas tardes on the street. That to me is
To
very...
complete strangers,
To
right?
complete, exactly.
Yeah.
And in the U.S., like, it took me a while to stop saying good morning to people as I walked down the street when we came back from Mexico, after having lived here, you know. Or to walk by somebody eating, you're leaving the restaurant, you say provecho, right?
Yeah.
Like, to a complete stranger, like, enjoy your meal. Like, that's
Yeah.
just something you
To
do.
a complete stranger, yeah.
Exactly. So that kind of stuff is, like, it's very communal in a very, the community is implied even to complete strangers. And that, I think, is the biggest thing that I miss about Mexico, and that I think we should adopt. And regardless of where we're at, like, we should
Keep
as
saying good morning,
Chicanos, maybe
everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
just
know?
do it.
Yeah.
I like it. Even when I say, like, thank you, they're like, por nada. They're like, oh, wow.
Like it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that. I'm gonna do that. What do you mean? It's the presence. They care.
Okay, well, Annie and Marta have busy schedules here in Mexico City. They're on the clock. No. Please, Annie, tell people where they can follow you and they can see your progress when you move to Mexico and study Spanish.
Yay! You can follow me on Instagram at Annie G. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Yes. And Marta plays with the band Quetzal. She's also a professor, and she is doing research for a book, and she's going to tell you all about her past book too. And
I first of all, I want to say that we miss Alice so much in LA. Everybody knows this. We love you so much, and we're so lucky to have Instagram to be able to stay connected because we love you so much. And my book is called Chicano Artivistas: Music, Community, and Transborder Tactics. It's on UT Austin Press. I'm an associate professor at Scripps College, and I'm here, you know, doing research on this beautiful being, but also I'm interviewing other mujeres in music culture here from Veracruz that live here in Mexico City, and so I feel very lucky to be here today. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us.
And what's your social media connection so people can follow your work?
Mine is Marta Artivista.
And keep an eye out for the band Quetzal, who I don't know if you're playing right now because we're in the middle of a pandemic, but sometimes sometimes people get to play outdoors.
Yeah, sometimes we get to play. So we're getting ready to go to Milwaukee in April, and we have other gigs in New York, and so they're very interspersed. Still raising a kid, and you know, full-time jobs. So.
So these two women are phenomenal. Please do keep up with them. They do some amazing work, and they're smart, beautiful, and super creative. Thank you for being with us.
We hope you've enjoyed this conversation with Marta and Annie Gonzalez. If you have, please hit the like button, please subscribe, and we'll be seeing you again soon. Thanks again for watching.